So the third question I asked on Friday during that formative check, write the equation for the reflection of sine across the y-axis. I guess most of you had one of two answers, which I was glad to see. Only about 4 or 5 of you had the correct answer, but the rest of you, it was a really good educated guess. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to explain or show you that f of t is sine of negative t would reflect your graph across the y-axis. If you want to pause this right now, go into Desmos and check this. Just type in sine t and then put a negative in front and you'll see your graph flip across. So now I'm going to explain why. And actually, before I do that, the other half of you that I said had an educated guess, it was very close. Your negative was out front. You had negative sine of t. Okay, that reflects it across the x-axis. So let me explain why you have to put the negative inside your parentheses. So here we go. As we look at the blue graph, this is just our original parent function, sine of t. And let's say we go positive pi over 2. So our x was pi over 2. Our y is 1. Let me change that to blue real quick. Alright, so we go over a little bit, over to pi over 2, we go up to 1. In order to reflect this across the y-axis, we need to go to, in red, negative pi over 2 and up 1. Right, that would give us our reflection across the y-axis. So our y value is still 1. Remember, f of t can be, it's really y, right? So if you look at that, our pi over 2 is what changed. We went from positive pi over 2 to negative pi over 2. Well, which value is that? Is that our x or our y? And if you look at it, that is our y value. So f of t sine of negative t. So as we move to the right, we're talking, what are we doing inside here? Then as we move up, that's evaluating the whole sine of negative t or sine of t. So in order to flip across the y-axis, you're going to keep your y the same over here, the f of t. You want that to stay the same, but you want your x value, instead of going to the right, you're going to go to the left. So that's where you get f of t equals negative sine t. Sine of negative t. So in another color, let's go our typical, our purple here. If we wanted to flip across our y-axis, so here we're going to go from x is pi over 2, y is 1, to x is pi over 2, y is negative 1. So let's see what happens to our function. Our f of t, right, our y value is what's changing. So if we evaluate sine of t, if we go t, we're going to go pi over 2. That doesn't change. Pi over 2 up here, and pi over 2 down here. What has changed is our y value goes from 1 to negative 1. So we've put a negative sign in front of our y value. So you could put the negative out here, but if you multiply, well, let's say we divide by negative 1 on both sides. That's where we get f of t on the outside is negative sine of t. So again, red is where we changed the inside. Our x value changed from positive to negative. Our outside, the overall function sine of t, is our y value, and that does not change. We went from 1, we stayed at 1. It was our x that changed from positive to negative. Now a reflection across the y-axis is when you keep your x the same. So your t, what's inside here, stays the same, but your y value goes from positive to negative. The y value, you can think of this whole thing, the sine of t, as your y. So you need to change your y to be negative, and that's how we get negative on the outside, negative sine t.